Iran has launched ballistic missiles at Israel. The supreme leader has vowed to inflict heavy blows on the Jewish state. Heavy explosions have been also heard in Jerusalem as well as Tel Aviv. We heard a bit of the missile hits on Tel Aviv a bit earlier in the show. Black smoke has been rising over Tel Aviv's skyline. It's obviously later there. It's 10:34, so I'm keeping an eye on that. Can't see any actual sort of bomb explosions, but I know that missiles are landing on Tel Aviv. The US President Donald Trump has urged Iran to make a deal. That was on Truth Social earlier. And he's been warning that there will be even more brutal strikes coming from the Israeli side. Iran has accused the US of supporting Israel strikes, which it did, but it did take its time about doing so. Of course, Marco Rubio said at first that what Israel was doing was unilateral. Let's get back to calls on this. We're also going to pick up with an American-Israeli journalist, Emily Schrader, who is based in Tel Aviv, currently in an air shelter there. And she joins us now. Emily, thank you so much. Just tell us, how is it there tonight?
No lie, it's pretty stressful. I've been here in the shelter for a bit. We actually just got a notification that we can go out, but already there are conflicting reports about a possible third wave of ballistic missiles. So we are getting reports from the Army that so far over 200 ballistic missiles have been launched at Israel across the country. The first one was nationwide. There was an additional alert right after that for the north, and then the second wave of rocket strikes. Now here in the shelter, especially the first wave of attacks, we did feel quite a few booms. The shelter was actually shaking, the one that I'm in now. I don't believe there was a hit nearby exactly my neighborhood. However, we do know that there were some direct hits in the central region. Disputing reports still about how many, but I think at the minimum, there have been 2 hits. Now, that being said, the majority of these missiles have been intercepted successfully. I mean, we're talking about over 200, but still an incredibly stressful situation.
And Emily Schrader, when Iran last bombarded Israel, which I think was October 2024, when you had a commensurate strike from Iran, a number of countries assisted in Israel's defence. Are we seeing the same countries also helping to defend Israel from bombardment by Iran?
Yeah, so we actually have seen, even earlier in the day, we know that the Islamic Republic launched quite a few missiles, or attempted to launch quite a few missiles and drones earlier. There was a barrage of 100. None of them actually made it into Israeli territory. We saw Jordan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, even Turkish planes in the air defending, and of course British and American both defending against these ballistic missiles and drones that were being sent over to Israel.
And, you know, when the support for Israel and what Benjamin Netanyahu has been doing both in Gaza and in Iran is less than full-throated. I'm especially thinking of Erdogan, who has held rallies pro-Hamas in recent memory. Do we have to distinguish, do you think, between words and deeds? And when it comes to the crunch, as we see tonight, Israel does still have its allies?
I do think it's accurate. We also saw Macron coming out and saying that he authorized French Air Force to assist in the defense of Israel when it comes to these ballistic missile attacks. But I also want to emphasize that dealing with the Islamic Republic of Iran is a slightly different animal than dealing with non-state actors, proxies of the Islamic regime in Iran. And that is because we're dealing with, of course, a state actor and also something that is a potential nuclear threat that the IAEA itself acknowledged, which is sort of what set this off in the first place. Their non-compliance report that came out yesterday, just a number of hours before we saw the Israeli strikes begin across Iran.
And do you tie a cause and effect directly to that non-compliance report? Even though, of course, we have heard that this attack was many, many years in the planning, if not decades. It was still Benjamin Netanyahu maybe pressed the green light using that IAEA report perhaps as cover for it.
I wouldn't use the word cover.
I know maybe that's the wrong word, but, you know, as a reason to go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I think that this is something that the IDF and the Five Eyes intelligence have been tracking for many years, the development of this illicit nuclear weapons program. We know that there's been a big push by the Islamic regime in Iran in recent weeks, months, and years to develop rapidly this nuclear weapons program, despite the fact that there have been nuclear talks ongoing with the U.S. administration. Of course, now the Islamic Republic is saying that that's not relevant, and yet we still see U.S. President Trump saying he wants to make a deal. So it remains to be seen what the result of this will be on the diplomatic front, or if there's any hope for that in the future. It's something that Israel will also have to strategically weigh. But I think this is something that was really inevitable, that was going to happen when it comes to the regime in Iran at some point or another, because this regime is founded on an ideology that's sought since its inception to destroy the state of Israel, not just to attack it, but to actually wipe it off the map.
And domestically, is what Benjamin Netanyahu's done being taken on face value like that? And I'm about to read out a direct message from Benjamin Netanyahu. Or do you have people saying, Haaretz, that kind of the liberal left who have loathed so much of what he has done in the last year or so? Do you hear them saying he's only done this to save his skin, or are people basically rowing in behind the Prime Minister?
Well, I think I haven't actually heard a lot of criticism of Netanyahu on this issue yet, and that is because the intelligence was pretty concrete that we got in recent weeks regarding the developments of the nuclear weapon program.
Okay.
And no one is denying that the Islamic Republic has done a great deal to destabilize the region, to carry out attacks and, through terror proxies in this region. So people understand that, and I think right now the number one concern is security, making sure that everyone is safe in these barrages, which are significantly more scary than we have seen before. And it remains to be seen what will happen later. Of course, there's a political element. There's always a political element. But at the end of the day, Israel does have to deal with this threat. It's not going away on its own. And we can't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, whether we have a left-wing government or a right-wing government.
However, just finally, if it's easy to make a nuclear bomb, if you've got a rich guy and a bit of the enriched materials, what if this has made the situation even more dangerous and volatile? What if instead of cutting off the head of the snake, he grows another 8?
Well, I think that's going to be very difficult to do with already the successes we've seen Israel cutting off pretty much the entire chain of command of the IRGC, as well as the Iranian military. The regime already was very weak as a result of sanctions and, of course, massive internal dissent. And it's impossible for me not to mention the importance of the Iranian people in this equation, who have been very outspoken for years about pushing back against this regime. We've already seen a lot of people even celebrating. I'm very happy that this regime is taking some hits. It remains to be seen if we'll see some sort of mass-scale protests erupt. But in the meantime, I mean, Israel has really dealt a heavy blow to the Islamic Republic, despite the fact that we are expecting this to continue back and forth for a bit, as of the estimations by the IDF now.